Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Inches and Cubes podcast. This is episode 21. We have a very special guest for you today, but first, it's me, Point and Click Nick.
Me, Mr. Fist Paul Fowler.
Me, Adam, the truest axe.
And we'll be guiding you through the hobby and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. So sit tight for the music break, and we'll be right back at you. All right. So our very special guest today is
Matt.
Oh my god! We rehearsed this.
We coached him through how to say his name. He's been on radio.
Our guest today is Matt the Machine Herd. He is our resident expert on all things Mechanicum. And today's episode title, because I forgot to say it, is 010111011101111112.
What? No.
There are no twos.
System failure.
You just stepped on the bit.
There are no twos in binary. So we're going to be talking about Mechanicum. Mechanicus?
Mechanicus. Now.
Oh, and Mechanicum too. We'll talk about some Horus Heresy stuff. Why not? So Matt, why don't you give us your hobby resume? I know you and Adam go way back to what he calls the Eaton Center crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, so way back, I started in the hobby, I guess, with HeroQuest, as a lot of people did.
Whoa.
And my painting and miniaturing hobby probably started with Battletech in the 90s. I didn't get into 40K until 4th edition, and ended up working at the Eaton Center with Adam around, 2008?
Oh, I didn't know you worked at Games Workshop.
Yeah, very briefly.
Yeah.
It was a while ago. It was like a decade ago.
Was Adam your boss?
Yes. So I was there with Tully and Valere and Matt
Tully.
Wright, I think.
Yeah. Was I the manager at that point?
Yeah,
I can't
pretty sure you
remember.
were.
Yeah.
So that was in my orc days.
Yeah.
And I've progressed marginally since then, both in painting skill and hobby skill.
You were always a good painter. You paint really clean. I like
Clean.
that. Yeah.
Not particularly original.
We're all technicians.
And so been through orcs, necrons, Grey Knights, 3 or 4 Marine armies, Imperial Guard, which I still have, and then most recently a pretty sizable Mechanicum and Night Force.
Good looking Mechanicum and Night Force.
The red.
Yeah.
They have
Again,
they have
not
red
particularly
faces.
imaginative.
That's the flavor they come in, though. That's...
Red's a flavor, it's true.
Speaking of flavor.
Ooh.
Oh. So, I am doing the Creemore Showdown today.
Alright, you're doing the Pepsi Challenge?
Yes,
Creemore?
the Creemore Challenge. So, I got two Creemore beverages that are not the original Creemore. So, I got the alt beer, and then later I'll do a different one. This one's a special German brown ale. When our brewers decided to craft our first ever ale, they wanted it to be extraordinary, so they chose to collaborate with Zamschlussel. Schlussel?
That can't be right.
That's your fault for picking a
Schlussel?
German beer.
Let's have a look.
Some Schluchenstein.
No, that's wrong too.
Of course it's wrong, but it was said with confidence.
Is it?
Then a bunch more words, and here we go. True to style, our interpretation is a dark, mahogany-hued beer with a roasted nutty. We know we like the nut. Dude, malt flavor and an intensifying hop finish. There we go.
Stop putting nuts in our mouth.
Yeah, just for a record, for all of our listeners, we haven't even started drinking. We do have a 3 beer limit on the podcast, so for anyone who's like, you guys are wasted, it's like, no.
No.
Oh, it's a maximum. When you said 3 beer, I thought you meant like at least.
Yeah,
Oh.
3 beers and then Adam drives home.
I never drink 3 beers.
No.
I know you don't.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, the 3 beer minimum? No. It's a 3 beer maximum.
Maximum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fun doesn't start until the record button gets hit.
Exactly. We just sit here somberly.
And nothing fun happened. We didn't talk about our days
No.
and our hopes and our dreams.
Mm-mm.
So let's do our hobby desk segment. Adam, start us off.
Sure. I had some fun with Magnus.
That does not sound like you had fun. That sounded really forced.
There's a lot going on in that guy. That's
The
for
nipple
sure.
horns, man.
Oh, big nipple horns. Yeah, just sprayed them down with paint and just got messy.
Nice.
No.
Nice.
Anyway,
Paint me a picture.
He's big and beautiful and awesome, and it's a great model. Painted all the armor plates separate, had them all up on little racks of sprue with paper clips sticking out and just stick all the pieces on and then go crazy on that. And so finished him except for the base, and the customer wanted this kind of battle scene enacted out on the base that's on page 108 of the whatever book the Space Wolves were in.
Okay.
And it's the story of Egil Stormwolf or something like that. Iron Wolf.
Okay.
He's an Iron Wolf dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he. So the story is, he's fighting on the battlefield, comes across Magnus, and is like, well, you know, I'm not going to do much. And so he sees a dead Longfang on the ground, so he picks up his last cannon, fires it at Magnus, and Magnus stops the last cannon bolt in midair in like some stasis field, and he picks up Egil Ironwolf and he levitates him right in front of the last cannon bolt, and then he lets it go and it just blows the top half of his body off.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I have him like dead on the ground with his legs blown off, and he's like reaching over and grabbing this last cannon off the ground.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think he was a Wolf Lord too, wasn't he? Like he was.
He is the Wolf Lord.
he was-
Of the,
he was
yeah,
one
that's
of the
right.
companies.
So
That's a hell of a way to go.
And if you're gonna go, you go to the last cannon.
Yeah.
yeah. So then I started on Aramon as well and a couple other sorcerers today, and just kept working on some Infinity stuff. But we don't have to talk about that here.
No, we don't.
This is 40K podcast.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's my stuff.
Yeah, so I got to put some more work into the Demon Prince, got him on the base. I need to go pick up some silver paint. It's been a very busy couple weeks for me, so not having paint is weird. I'm like, I don't have time to go buy paint.
Yeah, like when you showed me the pictures, I was like, use silver for the gold highlights. And you were like, I don't have silver. I was like, bro, who doesn't have silver?
Yeah.
Right? That's the base.
I didn't
Six pots
have-
of silver.
I didn't have any
Of
silver.
various shades.
Yeah.
So he's basically done. Paul just suggested that I throw down some silver highlights on all the gold highlights to really bring him up before I seal him up with some matte spray. And he'll be good to go. Yeah, I'm quite impressed with him.
That's awesome. You've been milking that guy for a while.
I know.
Yeah. I don't have a huge amount. An order came in last week, so something kind of skipped the line on all my hobby desk work. I'm working on a Mark IV Dreadnought with 2 autocannons, so Rifleman Dread.
4 autocannons.
4 autocannons, yeah.
Yep.
I love that model. I say it almost every episode, but one of the better sculpts that they've done. I like the big flat panels. I'm gonna do one side, basically gonna try and mirror what I did with my Leviathan Dreadnought. Do one side with a bunch of black accents, and then the other side. Then the majority of the model yellow. Worked up just like a really easy cork base with a couple of bits. Found a bunch of pig iron shells that I had ordered, like the old.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I was like, oh,
Empty bullet shells? Kind
yeah.
Nice.
Like empty brass. So I just put those here and there on it, and just the way that like the legs are positioned, it's stepping forward. So I was able to do like a 1/4 inch piece of cork. So he's stepping up on that, and he's sort of like looking around, not too fussed about anything that he's seeing. So yeah, that's probably going to be finished by Friday or Saturday.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Going for it.
I've got a couple things on the desk, I guess. I picked up the Raven Guard model from the... Not Death Watch. What was the Death Watch?
Overkill?
Overkill. Yeah, from the Overkill box set to use as Shrike for
Oh, yeah.
my Raven Guard guys.
I have
Because
sitting
he's
right there.
a pretty solid plastic model
we were
compared
talking
to the Shrike one.
We were talking
the
about that.
Shrike model's ugly as sin, man.
Yeah. Although this guy also has smoke launchers on his jetpack for some reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Why not?
shadows. They just
Yeah.
Yeah.
We make our own shadows.
So that guy is getting painted up in my weird greenish blue Raven Guard colors. I've got a squad of Fulgurite Electro Priests that I had got with the Eradication Maniple box set that came out a while back and had never had a reason to paint until now, so now they're actually getting some paint on them.
Are those the guys with the like bulby fingers?
No, those are the Corpuscari. Those
okay.
are the Emperor Palpatine wannabes.
Yeah.
These are the disco stick priests who steal your life essence. And my big project right now is orcs. So, because I hate myself, I'm stripping all of my 4th edition orcs and repainting them, which is a massive undertaking. And picked up 6 kilocans off Connor, who I need to get painted up as well.
Which Connor?
Collie.
Oh, the coward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Him.
Connie?
The hair?
So I've got a massive, massive pile of half-primed, half-stripped, or gray plastic orcs that are making me feel bad about my hobby progress.
Good. You need that.
Yeah.
Everyone needs that millstone around their neck.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Games played then. I mean, general's briefing. Adam, you got anything?
No.
No, I ain't got nothing. We had that AGM.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Next. So don't worry.
All right.
I had a great game on the table that Battle Brothers Studios was working on. Was it Battle Brothers Studios?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice. At Nick Wilkins' place. So it was the last game of the league, last official game. I'm currently tied for first with Nick G, so we have to play our final game. I figured like there were a couple instances of ties where across all of the hobby, battle score, painting, all of that stuff we were tied. So instead of doing like a random tiebreaker, I figured it'd just be more fun to be like play again and finish it off rather than be because I had a tiebreaker set up, right? So like best overall was then best general, then best painted, then best sportsman. If you tied across everything, I was like, well, we have to do battle. So yeah, the new table was good. He brought a very, very elite list. It only had 4 drops. Had a Storm Talon, a Land Raider full of Assault Terminators with with Thunderhammer Storm Shields, a Redemptor Dreadnought, and then a Storm Raven with a Ironclad Dreadnought and a whole bunch of Terminators, a Lord, a Chaplain, and a Librarian. I think we talked about this last time in the terrain thing, but you need line of sight blocking terrain. Like, the jungle table is beautiful. I like it, but he got halfway up the field, and I was just like, kaboom!
Yeah, that's exactly what you said, right? Did you say it on podcast, too?
Yeah.
So he would have heard that in advance. I can't remember.
Probably. I don't know. But yeah, just the...
You know what he made? He immediately made a piece of terrain after that?
Yeah.
Big, oil container.
Yeah, because there was just nothing for him to hide behind, so he, came up, hit my wall of cultists, and then dropped everything in, and then it was just like, okay, well, here's my entire army, and you're now in range, right? Because you did your first turn, you brought everything in range, because it was a very close army.
Well, especially if you dropped anything in line of sight blocking terrain, wouldn't have helped that. Just right in your face.
Yeah. As far as you're concerned, hey, now you don't have to move to shoot him.
That's right.
He's just right there.
Exactly, yeah. But it was fun. Redemptor Dreadnoughts are still scary. They're not that great if they're moving, because everything's hitting on 4s, which is kind of like, meh. You guys always complain about the Fire Raptor, the Storm Raven by itself, just put with 2 Hurricane Bolters, the Assault Cannons, the Las Cannons, the Missile Launchers, and holding 10 guys
and
a Dreadnought. It's terrifying.
The Hurricane Bolters are 8 points.
I know.
There's no reason they should be 8 points.
No.
Well, 1 bolter's free, so lots of bolters should also be free.
Yeah.
In fact,
8 times 0 is?
Incalculable.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're putting out 24 bolter shots within 24 inches, 12 assault cannon shots, multi-melta shots, plasma cannon shots, and then it's also got missiles. Why not? Yeah, no, it's a decent little gumshoe. That was the first time I faced it in 8th edition. Do not like it, but Havocs with prescience make short work of it.
Yeah, they're good. How many is 10 with last cannons?
Well, there's 2 squads of... I use 2 squads of 5 with 4 last cannons in each squad.
You're going to be fine.
We killed 2 guys from each squad before I got to fire though, so it was only down to 3 last cannons a squad. But yeah, no, it was a good game. Stratagems again, super important to use. I don't think he used any of the new stratagems for Space Marines, and I of course was out of stratagems by turn 2.
No command points left.
Yeah, because I was just like, okay.
Fire twice, fire twice, fire twice. Oh.
No. It's like +1 wound, fire twice. That's 3 command points right there. And then turn 2, it's like +1 to wound, fire twice. And then there was a reroll in there to get a good psychic power off as well.
You're in one of the other camps. It's like either you forget you have command points until the end of the game, or you go into the game saying, I'm going to use this command point or this stratagem to do this, and then you burn through them all in 2 turns.
Yeah, I think it's important to have those things built into your list now, because like when I play Connor, he's got the 3 predators, so he goes for the kill shot. It's just important to, really, it takes your army to the next level if you have your whole army and tactics or strategy don't have to be based around using the stratagem, but you should have that built into your battle plan. Like, I have 3 Vindicators. I can do D6 mortal wounds to everybody within 3 plus D3 inches.
Unless it's a character, on which point you... Yeah.
Yeah, so all those fun sorts of things. We'll get into some of the stuff that Mechanicum has, but I like stratagems a lot.
That's unfortunately one of their shortcomings, is getting command points.
Oh, yes.
Because they have a lot of good ways to use them, and very few ways to build large detachments.
Space Marines are the same.
Luckily, though, and we can get into this later, your troops are real good.
Yeah.
So,
why not?
It's not a tax.
They would be a heavy support choice in any reasonable codex.
What about you? You got any games played, Matt?
Yeah, I played my last league game against James Johnson's, his heavily converted orc army. It was easier for us to get to my place, well, obviously easier for me, than get to the Sword and Board, so we played on my Mars sort of Shadow War-ish table. It was a good game. It came down to sort of a tie-ish. I think I ended up officially winning, but it was certainly close. Highlight for me was when his war boss on a bike charged a single Corpuscari Electro Priest who tanked all the hits. Didn't do anything back, but he just drove a bike right into him, and he just stood there and kind of said, "Yep, I'm good."
And that's why you're painting these guys now?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was the only game I've got in recently.
So last thing I want to touch on before we head into everything else is we had the Hogtown 40K annual general meeting on Saturday. It was good. Thank you guys for coming.
I think it's echoed all around that we're happy that people showed up.
We got a lot of stuff done, got a lot of good ideas on the table, and got this year off to a fantastic start. We've got a tournament being planned for the end of November. Seascape just emailed us back. I don't know if you saw that email, but November 3rd, which is a Friday, we're going to be doing a build and pub night there in preparation for the tournament. Adam's got some amazing stuff on the go as far as really fun terrain stuff.
Inventory.
Yeah, I saw the open play / cleaning up.
That's right.
Event.
Yeah, and so every Saturday in each month, we're going to try and do an open day. There'll be somebody there with some overarching theme, whether that's cleaning up, whether that's terrain, whether Paul's going to be sitting in a corner offering painting lessons to people. Adam might do that as well, who knows. Or it might just be like, hey, bring this type of fun army, or bring super heavies today if you want to, or who knows, we'll try to do something fun the first Saturday of every month.
Adam's just going to sit down and show everyone how to send them PayPal.
Go on your phone, go to Google Play.
You give me a bunch of money, and in some time, models.
My entire painting tutorial would be Devlin mud. Just get a big old bin of Devlin mud, and whatever you do, just slop as much of that on as you can. It looks amazing.
Nice.
Liquid talent, baby.
Yep.
So, did you say Devlin Mud? Because when it came out, you bought like a huge stockpile of it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Devlin mud and Mechrite red, which is why I have like 3 armies that are painted in nothing but foundation paints and Devlin mud.
Nice.
Was it Badab? No, what was before Null and Oil? What was it?
Was the Blackwash.
Oh,
Yeah, that was the one that I would just rock on everything. That was my this thing has armor. Gonna use that.
It's Army Painter, Strong Tone, and Dark Tone are the replacements.
Okay. Yeah, because I've been having the same problem that you had, that you warned me about. I'm pointing and gesticulating at Adam. Because they're broken. Like, the new ones are broken when they pool heavy and dry. They're all dusty and white in, like, crevices. Why?
What? Yeah.
That's a bad product, my dude.
Which one?
The Agrax Earthshade and the Null and Oil?
Oh, no, I don't have that problem with no gloss.
No, not the gloss.
Yeah, so if you use the gloss, they're perfect. But the matte ones, which in concept, it's a great concept, but they're broken.
Well, they were so, like, the original formulas were so good. Like, they would just even out so many problems that you would have. And these are just messing with my head.
Yeah.
I have one pot of that Yandon Dark Sun, that foundation paint yellow, that goes over black in one coat.
Yeah,
Like, why did they not have that anymore?
One of the greatest paints ever made.
So I, when those came out, the Devlin Mud and that whole like era of washes,
Painting aside.
I was still going through my stockpile of the inks, like black ink and brown ink, and which I loved those at the time, and now I'm realizing how horrible those things really were.
Man.
Those are good if you have a gloss base and then you ink over them.
Right. So what I would do is, I painted a bunch of Plague Marines for a friend of mine before I moved to St. John's. Moved to Toronto, sorry. And I just painted all the Plague Marines a pastel pink and orange. and then hit them with the chestnut ink. And it was the easiest, coolest paint scheme. It was
They
just
look disgusting and fleshy.
yeah. It was so easy. I was like, why? So if anyone knows the ink replacement, like, hit me up.
Yeah, chestnut ink was such magic.
Yeah, and
It's gotta just be Egrath Earthshade Gloss.
No.
No?
It's a different. Like, it stank. Like, it felt.
You need to get the ink stank.
I need. Oh man, like you would open it up and it would like it had the weird octagonal drums of it, and it had this like eyedroppery thing in the.
Oh, dude, you're going back.
Yeah, this is like
wow.
this is
The little bolter shell ones.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is this? And
Weird.
yeah, it was just the best though for like that one use. And I've seen like people use them on Warseer and stuff with like really good results. So, anyways, if anyone knows a ink replacement, hook me up. I will give you nothing except my momentary gratitude.
Shout out?
No.
Oh, okay.
No shout out. But back to where I was going with this point before we got sidetracked, because that should have been in the hobby desk part. But it's fine. We don't follow a structure here.
You seem like you want us to, though.
I'm just tired. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Anybody out there who wants to join the club, wants to be part of the club, if you're looking to help out with events, contact me. That's Nick. If you're looking to help out with hobby stuff and new member outreach and all the other cool stuff that goes along with that, you contact...
You talk to Paul Fowler, Mr. Fist Fowler.
And then if you want to do terrain,
Contact me, Adam.
and if you want to learn about finance and capital budgets and how not-for-profits work, you can contact Phil.
I would say leave Phil alone. He doesn't want to help you.
And we're actually currently right now administering an election for our secretary position, so I'm excited to see who goes that. Right now, Alfarius is in last place with 1 vote.
Dude, you can't discuss...
Really gunning for him. It's Alfarius. He's got 1 vote. It's good. That's all I'm discussing about the election. It's
Or
just
the
Alfarius.
other guys might also be Alfarius and have the rest of the votes. We don't know.
That's the joke. Is that everybody's Alfarius. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be right back at you with some binary code. I don't know what that was.
It's the probe droid noise.
Battle Brothers Studios, a commission painting service passionate about making your miniatures and your gaming table look great. Our philosophy at Battle Brothers is this: your army is our army. Every model will be something you can be proud to show off. Send us a message on facebook.com/Battle Brothers Studios for a free quote and make that dream project come to life. We also have something special planned for the release of 8th edition of 40K. Right now, get 20% off if you commission us to paint an 8th edition starter set, or get a 10% off Army Bundle bonus for painting up your new 8th edition 40K Army. Inquire with us on Facebook for full details.
Hogtown, Hogtown, Hogtown!
Saturdays at Sword and Board!
Rock and Blur!
It's behind the pizza.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah!
Idiots.
Well, we wanted to start, and then Paul needed a pee break, so we're just going to stall for a bit. So yeah, our main topic today is the Adeptus Mechanicus, also known as the Mechanicum, also known as robots, or cyborgs. You guys want to help me out here?
No.
No.
Okay. That's fine. So, this is the first time I've seen the 8th edition codex, so I've never faced them on the table in 8th edition. Matt, you are our guide through the crazy world of the Mechanicus. So I know you wrote some notes and did some homework and got ready for today. So what do you got for us?
The reason I'm on the podcast today, I suppose, is that Mechanicus is my main force. They kind of started off for me in 5th edition with a Space Marine army that was based on Mars, that was supposed to be sort of a Space Marines being secretly forged on Mars. And then once they finally, in 7th, released the Scutari and Cult Mechanicus codexes. I picked those up immediately, and then I've pretty much devoted most of my hobby time to those going forward. So the Mechanicus is a bit of an odd part of the Imperium in that they're the only sort of outside force that the Imperium has allied with rather than just straight up conquered. So, well, prior to the second eagle head on the Aquila is Mars,
Yeah.
and the first one being Terra. Pre-heresy, when the Emperor went to Mars to sort of bring them into the Imperial fold, a lot of the tech priests on Mars considered him the Omnissiah, which kind of made the transition to being part of the Imperium a little bit easier, rather than just conquer and subjugate Mars, which would have delayed the Great Crusade. The Emperor, realizing that he needed Mars's resources and couldn't afford a land battle on Mars, so to speak.
Well, I think it's a prime example of following Dr. Venkman's orders. When if someone asks if you are a god,
Yeah.
you tell them yes, Ray.
Yeah, exactly. And it was very convenient that others on the planet saw it the same way, because then you could say, well, you know what? I know that we have the imperial truth and that nobody's supposed to have religion and science, blah, 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 but yeah, we kind of need you on our side, and this whole cult Mechanicus thing we're going to kind of let slide as long as you give us all the guns and ships and armor that we need to prosecute this crusade.
That you people compulsively make and can't really stop.
Yeah.
So it's just everyone wins except for the people on the business end of boulders.
Mars didn't get nothing out of the deal either. Apart from not being able to research a few different types of forbidden tech, including artificial intelligence, which the Emperor decreed would be locked in the Nocturnus vaults, I think? Vault Nocturne?
Wherever the Necron god is, right?
Yeah, well, wherever the locked away bits on Mars are.
The real Void Dragon.
Mars had also expunged all physical mutation ages ago, so they didn't have any psychers, which meant they didn't have any navigators, which meant that they couldn't really go out and reconnect with all the Lost Forge worlds and Night worlds out there in space.
Night with a K, right?
Sorry?
Night with a K?
Yes, Night. Yes, Night worlds with a K. The nice
I believe.
household worlds. So, joining with the Imperium, the Imperium provided psychers so that they could go on their exploratory crusades, and they provided the Imperium with the gear they needed to blast a bunch of uncompliant Xenos.
Yeah. Everyone wins. Except
Everyone wins, except for the uncompliant Xenos.
Well, they should.
Or even the compliant Xenos, who really didn't win either.
No Xenos.
Xenos in general did not win.
They didn't do so great.
No.
You know what? It just God all the time with the popping and on my hands.
You got excited.
I did. I'm drinking. Matt was so kind as to bring us an India Pale Ale.
Wait for it. You didn't see this.
Engineers.
No.
Matt has defaced a can of Engineers Pale Ale to say Engine Seers Pale Ale because he has the exact right amount of time on his hands. And luckily, India Pale Ale, the people at the junction decided not to put any text on the can, so now Simon doesn't have to skip ahead.
Here, how about this one? Bold, complex, and finally balanced.
There we go.
Does he really not listen to it?
I think he was joking. I don't know.
Because I hope he realizes that we're really just angling for a beer sponsorship.
I think we would have to ask for it rather than just put our hopes into the universe.
It's not competitive. It's not in the beer meta.
Yeah.
Sorry, Simon.
I'll get something in the works.
Beer meta. I'm gonna be like falling asleep laughing to that.
You do listen to the podcast.
Yeah, I do.
As you go to sleep.
Yeah,
Beside
Just like-
poutine, apparently, and a Space Marine Codex?
yeah. That was a rough night.
Just like Nick Wilkins. He's like, yeah, I listen to you guys, I fall asleep. Like, I feel sorry for you.
Yeah,
That could be worse. You'd be like, I listen to you guys on the can.
I would prefer that.
Yeah?
How do you fall asleep to this? This is...
It's an
It's
eight.
your dulcet tones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam has a voice like a spring wind through willows.
We're just going to do ASMR.
Nick has a voice like a babbling brook. Paul has a voice like a fine goose's honk. And well, Matt's just got golden syrup, honey voice.
Not recently. It's like golden syrup with maybe 20% Fran Drescher.
I'll take it.
All right, so
Depends what 20%.
Let's keep going through this history of the Mechanicum, because that's where we are right now.
Yeah, so much like the rest of the Imperium, the Mechanicum at the time was split by the heresy. So the Fabricator General, who is the most senior ranking person on Mars, actually sided with Horus. And the big draw for the Mechanicum, and for him in particular during the heresy, was that Horus said, if you side with me, I won't constrain you with the various things that you can research in the same way that the Emperor has. So I'll open up all the vaults. You guys can go nuts with your crazy Xenos tech and your artificial intelligence and all the things that you really shouldn't be messing with.
Your crazy mad scientist dreams.
Yeah.
Can I just say, I love Dark Mechanicus stuff, like the binding of demons to vehicles and stuff. Like, no artificial intelligence, doesn't work. We're going to put a demon brain in this thing.
Yeah. Well, the big difference, the Dark Mechanicum sees... Well, the Mechanicum sees the machine as something blessed to be venerated. The Dark Mechanicum sees the machine as something powerful to be subjugated. So that's sort of the, like...
I'm with
the
the
Dark Mirror
Mechanicum
side of it, where we can use this to our own goods, we just have to bend it and, like, force it to do what we want.
Oh, okay.
Which is probably why their Land Raiders end up eating people.
Yeah, it's not respecting the power.
No.
I was going to say, when you put a demon in something, does it really do what you want?
Sometimes.
If what you want it to do is eat 1 out of 6 of the guys that come out of it, then yes. But the whole respecting the technology kind of underpins the... well, not even respecting, but worshipping technology underpins sort of the whole MO of the Mechanicum and later the Mechanicus and the cult Mechanicus, which is venerating the machine and technology as divine. So, like I said earlier, this kind of slipped under the radar, or not under the radar, but was kind of brushed aside when they were brought into the Imperial fold in terms of worshipping gods, because they do literally worship the machine god. But it's also kind of degraded their actual science knowledge to... They know what to do to make things work, but they don't know why they need to do it. Yeah. So they will anoint a vehicle in sacred oils and sing a song because they know that makes it work better. Really, they're oiling the tracks, but they don't really understand that lubrication is what's doing the work.
Yeah, it's shamanistic understanding of how machines work. There's I heard this really cool story about an old... It was would have been around when Vikings had Christianity incorporated into their way of lives, and there was like a folk remedy for a certain ailment, and it just had do this and stir it for like this many prayers and like that sort of thing.
Right.
And a biologist actually looked at it and they were like, this is just instructions. It might have been instructions for exorcism.
Oh.
And it was like, this is how you treat a fever.
Oh, okay.
And like all of the prayers were just like, it was just a common thing that everyone knew, so you could just time how long you mix, I don't know, silver and orange juice. Like, just...
The Vikings
That's what I take for my fever.
Vikings had access to orange juice, for sure.
Probably not.
Silver and meat? They used lye for a lot of things.
Elk blood? But yeah, so a shamanistic understanding of machines.
And they're transitioning from the Mechanicum to the Mechanicus, post-Schism of Mars, which was after the heresy, the Mechanicum became sort of officially entrenched into the Imperium. The Fabricator General of Mars is the only permanent seat on the High Lords of Terra. All of the other seats sort of rotate out of the various administrations. And the second head on the Aquila is Mars. But from an actual technological maintenance point of view, they have a monopoly on both building and maintaining technology in all forms. Like the average Astra Militarum trooper would not even dare to modify their lasgun or combat knife for fear of upsetting its machine spirit.
Oh yeah, like that's what was that Ultramarines captain that had Uriel Ventarius or whatever, the guy who like had to go on a penitence crusade because he stripped down a Thunderhawk for like some crazy maneuvers, and they were like, that shit was awesome. You can't ever do that again. You gotta go on a penitence crusade.
Innovation is frowned upon. Anything that's not rote sort of repetition of whatever the person that came before you said and did is pretty much frowned upon. Apart from Call.
Yeah.
Call being fairly new to the fluff is a bit of an outlier in that all of a sudden there's all sorts of innovation in the Mechanicum that apparently he's been working on for 10,000 years and didn't deign to tell anybody about it until now.
Well, like you said in your notes here, he took 10,000 years to saw the barrel off of a heavy bolter and call it an assault rifle.
Yeah. This is
very slow strokes.
Yeah. It's the ultimate union gig working for the Mechanicum where you have 10,000 years to finish a small maintenance project. And then Gilliman comes back and says that this was the plan all along.
We gotta get it done. We gotta get it done.
I mean, he had to talk to all the right people, and he had to build all those relationships to make sure. And it's like, hey, I got this neat idea. And, we don't do ideas around here.
He's got so many
hey, buddy,
brains kicking around in himself that he doesn't remember which one remembers what.
Apparently, he's been mind wiped twice.
Yeah, he's a mad scientist. If you were to cast him, I would say Vincent Price every day of the week.
Vincent Price with every one of his body parts replaced with more robot parts.
Yeah. Like, you're not going to see him. So.
No. Who is that?
Call.
No, Vincent Price.
God.
1960s Batman, he was Egghead. He was...
Excellent.
He was
If you and Robin return to Gotham City, you will be executed.
Really, really thin mustache and bald.
Yeah.
You'd recognize him immediately.
Yeah.
He was in every horror movie in like black and white era. And the Last Man on Earth, the original Omega Man, which was the original I Am Legend.
I excel at crime.
Who goes there? The original Thing. He was in the original Thing.
Oh yeah,
Oh, was he? Cool.
House on Haunted Hill. Bald guy, thin
Follow the
mustache.
House of Usher.
No.
You know who
The beginning of Michael Jackson's
Thriller
video.
Yeah, he does the voice for...
He does the rap,
Is that a rap?
allegedly.
Oh.
I've heard it
They
before.
probably had to tell him that was a rap.
Yeah.
You did a rap.
I'm very cool. And that was sort of how he sounded. So, anyway, we can do our dream casting of different 40K personalities later.
Yeah. So,
You're leading this.
Oh, I'm leading. I'm just running with this. I'm looking at you for
He's
guidance.
like, Nick, help! You're like,
Yeah.
no help.
You're on your own, throwing into the wolves.
What's next?
So, on the tabletop, the Mechanicus, I feel like a buddy of mine, Brian, plays Tau, and for years, every time that we played, I would have to ask, so wait, that does what again? And that weapon system does what? It's like, the fused pulsed ion raker.
That's
it's
what
like,
Mechanicus is.
Obviously, yeah. I feel like Mechanicus has a lot of that. What? No. What does that do again? Sort of from your opponents, because
It's worse than Horus Heresy too.
oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you're just like, what is that thing? That little guy has 8 wounds.
yeah, and 19 different guns that he can fire at 3 targets and mechadendrites everywhere.
You have a vehicle that rams things and does haywire hits.
Absolutely.
That's just awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, apart from being an Imperium army, they use almost no Imperium standard weapons because, well, 2 reasons. 1, they keep all the good stuff for themselves. And 2, they don't value life particularly. So you look at a troop choice like the Vanguard. The Skitarii Vanguard are one of their sort of staple troop units, and the radium carbines that they use are so radioactive that they actually boil the skin off their users. So even in terms of Imperial Guard disrespect for life, this is pushing it. So, because most of their bodies are replaced by machine anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter if they're
Unless
organic
you
bits.
get captured by the Emperor's children.
Yes, and they replace all of your bionic parts with organic parts again.
Well, there's a there's a sub cult in the Dark Heresy supplement for the Mechanicum called something of the Pure Form, where it's like a bunch of former Mechanicum people replacing and removing bionic parts.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird.
It's like when the Federation captures the Borg. It's like 7 to 9.
It is.
And they put
Or
a
Locutus.
little tiny piece of skin on Data, and then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, I'm on your side now. I'm gonna rub my little skin back.
Hey, the Borg Queen, she pulls.
She pulls cyborgs? No, androids. Androids, sorry, yes.
Androids that got oddly fat between movies.
Hey, Brent Spiner is a national treasure.
For what nation?
I don't know.
But so most of the Mechanicum units, those that are not completely robotic, are cyborgs. So in order to get closer to their god, the Omnissiah, they replace parts of their anatomy with robotics, which also has the benefit of not being easily irradiated, because Mars is not a particularly hospitable place.
Can we just talk about who the Omnissiah is?
So the Omnissiah is the machine god who is sort of an embodiment of all knowledge and is venerated by the cult Mechanicus. The reason why the Emperor was seen as an avatar of the Omnissiah was that the Emperor of mankind actually still understood science at the time that he visited Mars. So to a technologically advanced people who venerate knowledge and really only know the basic level of how to maintain the equipment that they already have, somebody who understood everything about all of it was obviously not mortal, because if a mortal could understand all that stuff, they would have already.
And it is a Necron star god, right?
The Omnissiah?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah. So the idea is, in ages past before the Imperium,
In a world.
in, ages shrouded by time and mystery, the Emperor was able to imprison a shard, if we're looking at the retcon stuff, a shard of the Void Dragon on Mars. That's like the prevailing theory. It's heavily hinted at. It's almost fairly well accepted as fact at this point, yes?
In the book, in the Mechanicum book, for Horus
Graham
Heresy,
McNeil.
yeah, it's very clear that there's some sort of sentient creature living under Mars, and they have to keep feeding it new guardians every once in a while.
Having this Necron shard of a Satan buried on Mars kind of instilled this intense need and innate technological ability on the people of Mars.
Cult springs up around it.
Yeah. And, the theory is that was the Emperor, being like, I'm going to need a bunch of weird machine-building tinkerer people.
At some point.
Yep.
Dwarves, but we don't have dwarves.
Anymore.
Shh.
Reset the clock.
Do all the Skitarii have no legs under the knee?
Yep.
Why?
So, apparently...
Look at the models. There's no Skitarii with legs below the knee. It's all
bionics. So apparently, this was something that was, as far as I know, introduced in the 6th or 7th edition codex. Whenever I can't remember if it was 7th that they came out. 6th and 7th were so close together, I blend the two together.
Yeah.
7th. So this was something that was introduced in the 7th edition codex. So apparently, the early pioneers of Mars wore their legs to stumps, walking across the surface of Mars. And they had to be replaced with bionics.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, because eventually if you walk long enough, you
Die.
wear your legs down to stumps.
Back then, people were made out of wax, and they melted easier, Nick.
So in the
sandpaper.
on the tabletop in the 7th edition codex, this kind of got around the fact that they had no transports, and all of the Skitarii units got scout and were able to re-roll their run distance to represent the fact that they were just
Fast.
untireable. Their legs were robot legs, and they could just run forever.
That's why these guys have tracks.
Yeah. The outside of the Skitarii, Vanguard and Rangers, the typical what would have been called Tech Guard in older 40k literature, the Ruststalkers and Infiltrators have both their arms and legs, and in the case of the Infiltrators, head, removed. And they're basically just little torso sacks with robot arms and legs with knives attached to them.
Gross.
which is really what you want your fighting force to be made of.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, it's good that morale's not important for them.
No. They're little bondage helmets and knives for arms, and you're good to go.
Yeah, it's like Quentin Tarantino's Nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much the why none of the Skitarii themselves have appendages sort of below the below the waist.
So hardcore.
All appendages?
I don't think they're fully functional.
That's something GW doesn't really touch on a lot.
I'm sure they do, just behind closed doors.
Yeah. Ooh. There's a lot of radiation on Mars. Not all.
Hey.
Their guns are shooting radiation.
How do you make baby Skitarii? How do they reproduce?
They don't have nut juice.
No
I mean,
juice.
radiation, that'll happen.
But yeah, the Mechanicum is an interesting force on the table, both visually and in the way that they play. They've changed a little bit from 7th to 8th, but they are inexplicably a 100% foot slogging force because they don't have any transports, but they do have quite a few units that ignore the penalties for moving and shooting heavy weapons. So their other troop choice outside of the actual Skitarii units are the Cataphrons, which, if you've read Mechanicum or some of the other older books that reference the cult Mechanicus, these would have been referred to as the Praetorian Battle Servitors, which are basically a torso and head on a set of tank tracks with some heavy weapons attached to it. And these were used for...
It's
either... Sorry?
No, I was just going to say, it's so weird that in Heresy games, like Mechanicus are completely different than in 40k. They have transports. If you read the fluff, the Skitarii in Horus Heresy and all the books are like just as big as a Space Marine, just as tough as a Space Marine, with way more weapons. Like, I feel like the Myrmidon Secutors that are in Horus Heresy, those are what like Skitarii were.
Those would be closer to the Skitarii, yeah. And prior to the 7th edition official Skitarii codex, they had been described in a dozen different ways, depending. Like the Dan Abnett book, Titanicus, had them almost as tribal, and they were wearing bird masks, and they were covered in feathers, and both of their arms were guns, and like completely different visuals. They were more Blanchian, sort of crazy, spastic nightmare Skitarii.
Yeah, just like something at a blood meridian.
Yeah,
just horrifying.
The more modern version is sort of the hooded red robes, carrying oddly
Baroque.
Yeah, Baroque, but anachronistic weapons. So they'll be like a flintlock that shoots lasers. So in Heresy, you can equip the tech thralls with Mithralocks, which are basically
muskets.
flintlock musket lasers.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, and
there were laser muskets in Fallout 4.
laser muskets. Yeah,
You just had to wind up the capacitor and then fire it.
exactly. All of their weapons, the Skitarii weapons anywhere or anyway, are all named after early matchlock and flintlock firearms.
Like they
The
have
Jezzail.
the Radium Jezzail. The Jezzail's an old matchlock weapon, I believe.
They've got an arquebus.
The
which is
arquebus.
that's like an unrifled gun, isn't it?
It was like I believe it was somewhere.
It was a mini cannon.
Yeah, in the same family as the blunderbuss.
Okay.
It's like halfway between a musket and a cannon.
So basically take like shop sweepings, put it in a barrel, and blow someone in half with it?
Or a big ball. Yeah.
And the plasma, they don't have regular plasma guns. They have the plasma caliver.
Dope.
Very different weapons from the rest of the Imperium.
I'm learning so much right now.
I know. You're
great.
gonna be so deadly on the field after this.
I just love robot centaurs.
Robot centaurs are great.
And that's with the human heads and the horse bodies, not the horse heads and the human bodies.
Those are terrible. Well, in this case, it would be robot heads and human bodies.
You've got little human legs and a giant robot torso. Technically a centaur.
The back legs were human and the front legs and head were horse.
Okay, so This is sort of off topic, but you know how horses can like run minutes after being born?
Really?
Yeah, like a baby foal is born and then it just like gallops around after like 20 minutes.
Sure.
Babies don't do that. So imagine a foal with a baby just flopping around. That is crazy imagery. Enjoy that. Adam needs
I'll
a
help
drink.
us transition away from this. So, up against the alt beer, I have the Lot 9 Pilsner. Traditional Pilsner.
I like
So,
that beer.
Here we go. It's in a golden can, too. I like that it opens this way. This golden Pilsner is inspired by and traditionally crafted to honor the founders of Creemore. Determined folks who transformed a rugged patch of land called Lot 9 into some of the most prosperous crops around. So roll
Working
up
their
your-
legs to the bone. Walking to stumps.
Well, apparently these guys work their arms to the elbow. So roll up your sleeves and raise a glass to an honest day's hard work, folks.
I've
No,
obviously done
Cheers.
my best.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So I don't know why Paul missed this, but I'm also drinking an Inja Sears India Pale Ale, and this is a hard-working ale with a sense of adventure, and is always on track for long-distance voyages.
Oh, I missed it because it
much
wasn't
like-
worth reading.
Much like the Mechanicum itself.
that's right.
Searching for lost STCs.
Which,
STCs.
Yes. So that's a that's a big part of the Mechanicum is that they're always playing the galaxy for lost knowledge, and an STC was a standard template construct which went out with the original settlers who sort of spewed out from Terra to populate the galaxy, and it contained all of the materials and information needed to replicate whatever they needed on whatever planet they got to.
Yeah.
All of that technology has since been lost to the ages, and anyone in the Mechanicum is lucky to even find a fragment of a working STC that can, say, replicate a spork.
Yeah,
Or,
or like-
That's one of my favorite stories. I think it was like a bunch of Imperial Guard veterans got lost on a mission, found an STC of a combat knife,
Yep.
and were made planetary governors as the reward.
yeah,
For something
exactly.
that like reduced a combat's knife weight by like 10 grams.
Yeah, so technology is so far gone from actually being able to replicate or invent it that if you find something that will create technology for you, even if it's the most mundane piece of technology, that's enough to make you the planetary governor. So people in the Mechanicum will, virus bomb entire worlds to get to a fragment of an STC that will create a more efficient Rhino carburetor.
Yeah.
Or
Spark plugs.
spark plugs,
More
exactly.
spark plugs than you can imagine.
Yeah.
This makes my guitar go to 11.
Does it make your Skitari go to 11?
It does.
Why not make it
You okay?
10 more powerful?
You got the hiccups?
I got a little hiccup.
Oh, Muffin.
I'll be okay.
So we're into rules? I'm super stoked to see how these guys work.
None of you guys have played against... No, you've played against mine on the table. No, you haven't. Have you?
We played a team game where we teamed up against...
Yes.
Yeah.
That went really well for you.
Yeah.
Who'd you play against?
I fed Paul to the robots, and
Yeah.
then Celestine went
That
to
was-
the objective.
That was 7th edition.
That was 7th edition. That was in our Lethal Lottery doubles tournament.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those robots are dead hard, mate.
Yeah. So, did you want me to dive into the rules?
I think we got a pretty good idea of what a Mechanicus is.
Yeah.
Mechanicum.
Mechanicus. They're Mechanicus now. It says so in the book.
Yeah.
But I think another important thing to point out is that this codex is awesome because it's not 2 codexes.
Yes.
Yeah, it took
So-
3 books.
4.
4 books.
Because, so, as a longtime enthusiast of all things coming from Mars, as soon as the Night Codex came out, I bought that.
Marvin the Martian?
Yes, Marvin. I am a big fan of Marvin the Martian. So, not only did the Night Codex come out, but the Skitari and Mechanicus codexes came out one after another, each containing about 4 units. So there was no real reason why they couldn't have just put the 2 into the same damn book.
that is crazy.
And even more insulting is immediately after that, a year after they had released Knights for the first time, which contained 2 units, which were identical except for a single gun, they released an entirely new hardback Knight Codex that contained 4 units.
That's
so-
nuts.
Finally, in 8th edition, we have a Mechanicus Codex that contains all the Skitari troops, all the Mechanicus troops, and all of the plastic kit knights that are available. The only unit that was added between those older codexes and this one is the Tech Priest Engine Seer, who was previously an Imperial Guard unit and was in the Imperial Agents book.
Does he drive a train?
He does not. But he could fix your train if it was aligned with the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Which is just as good.
And I just want to say, one of my favorite little puns for the Dark Mechanicus are the heretics.
Heretic.
Get out.
Yeah, because if you spell something with a K, it's evil.
I'll go back to
That's
puns.
Thank you. Egg puns, please.
Excellent.
Egg salad. Wait.
What?
Never mind.
So the Mechanicus has some pretty solid troop choices to start with, and they're in a bit of an odd space because these, with the Scutari and the Cult Mechanicus books being combined, the Scutari was all toughness 3, 4-up armor save, light infantry troops, and then the Cult Mechanicus was multi-wound, T5, all carrying heavy weapons, really hard-hitting troops that were also accordingly expensive. So now you've got a mix of light troops and heavy troops to build your brigade or your battalion detachment. But even still, the servitors, the cataphrons who fill out the troop choices for the Cult Mechanicus side of things, are really more of a heavy support choice than a troop choice. I mean, they're toughness 5, 3 wounds. They're either packing 5-shot grav cannons or multi-shot arc rifles for killing vehicles, torsion cannons for doing multiple wounds. They're, you could pay 270 points for 3 models to fill out your troop choices. I mean, they're very pricey.
Yeah, they're a tough troop choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the fact that you can take 2 units of Rangers and then a couple of these guys, and you've got your brigade.
Yeah.
It's not the worst.
Yeah. Battalion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Brigade's pretty hard to fill out. That's one of the issues with the Mechanicus I'm finding is that, especially in the point levels that we tend to play at Hogtown, 1500, 2000, it's nearly impossible to do a brigade with Mechanicus. It's got a little bit better with the 8th edition codex. The Tech Priest Engine Seer is now an HQ choice instead of an elite, and so he clocks in somewhere around 52 points. But previously, the only HQ was the Dominus or Call, which was either 140 or 250 respectively. So popping 3 of those into a 1500 point list really eats into the rest of your choices.
Yeah, just having the one special character for your entire army, and one faction, the Mars.
Every Mechanicus army I've seen has Call in it.
But not now.
Not now.
No.
You can't have a Metallica Call.
Yeah, so that was one of the big changes with the Call has always had the Mars keyword. Mm-hmm. It's just that the keywords didn't matter up until now because there were no other Forge Worlds to pick from.
Right.
Now you've got a selection of, I believe, 6 Forge Worlds to choose from, similar in the way that Space Marines have chapter tactics or Imperial Guard have
7. Yeah.
7. Yeah. So Imperial Guard have their regiments. And Call can only be part of... Well, he can be part of any of the detachments, but you lose the benefits of Canticles if you put him in any detachment but a Mars one.
Yeah, and that's a pretty lofty tax, considering that there's no other options to get something like Call in those other factions.
He's definitely... The Engine Seer at 52 points is not a force multiplier, so Call... Belisarius Call is the 250-point... mechanical elephant in the room. He's
basically Gilliman.
A 9-inch... Yeah, he's not quite Gilliman, but he's got a 9-inch reroll bubble of all 2 hit rolls.
6.
Rude.
Yes, but his Warlord trait that he comes with by default expands it by 3.
Oh!
Yeah, so it ends up being a 9-inch... He has a mandatory Warlord trait that expands it out to 9 inches. He heals D3 wounds a turn from himself. He can repair other vehicles. What he did lose between 7th and now is the re-rollable Feel No Pain. So he no longer has a Feel No Pain at all. He's relying on a 5-up invul and his 2-up armor save. So he's He's not nearly as unkillable as he used to be.
He's a character now, though.
But he's a character, so
Yeah.
you can't just dump 16 las cannons into him anymore.
I'd like to.
Yeah. And his other ability meshes well with the Mars Forge World. I can't remember what they're called. Doctrines? Forge World. Whatever the special rules are that each of the Forge Worlds get, their sort of operating principles. The one for Mars is that Dogmas. You get to roll twice on the Canticles of the Omnissiah table each turn and apply both results.
Whoa.
Tell us about the Omnissiah table.
So the Canticles of the Omnissiah are the army-wide special rule for the Adeptus Mechanicus armies. And essentially it's a D6 table that you can either choose a result on or roll randomly for a result on. And the only restriction being if you have already chosen one of the 6 results, you cannot choose that same result again later in the game. You can roll for it and hope to get it again, but you can't pick it twice.
Okay, but you can always roll.
You can always roll, yes.
Okay.
So those range from re-rolling ones in the fight phase to re-rolling ones in shooting to counting your entire army as though it's in cover. They have a pretty wide variety of abilities that your army will get for that battle round, so including your opponent's turn. Oddly, for a shooting army, for a largely shooting-based army like the Mechanicus, the fact that only one of the 6 benefits shooting is a bit unusual, with 3 of them benefiting...
Did they really need the help?
Anything in the Cult Mechanicus side of Mechanicus is hitting on 4 ups for shooting. So the servitors, the robots, they're all 4+ ballistic skill. So they're not Space Marine level. The Skitarii is all on 3s, but they could use rerolling 1s for sure.
And this is...
You got calls, so you're rerolling.
You got call, yeah.
And this is in addition to your stratagems, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
you can just do... This is at the beginning of the turn.
Yeah.
So this is just gravy.
Yeah. Most of the time, I think that people are probably going to be wanting to go for Shroud Psalm, which is singing a song to make yourself in cover. Basically, for the duration of the battle round, every... it's specifically Adeptus Mechanicus units in your army count as being in cover, even if they're not.
Doesn't matter to Paul.
It doesn't matter to Paul. Imperial Fists and Iron Warriors are like, yeah, Shroud Psalm all the way.
You started talking, and I was like, wah, 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 wah. Oh, I don't care.
Yeah.
I ignore even people talking about cover at this point.
Or noise marines.
They ignore cover?
Yeah. All their sonic weapons ignore cover. Don't you listen to the podcast?
Yeah, I played against your Noise Marines.
know.
I just scooped up piles of models and put them back in the case.
It was guard. To be
Yeah,
fair.
it was Imperial Guard. It was like, cover, they ignore everything. Like,
Yeah.
it just...
You're scum, Nick.
We broke Matt.
Made him choke.
He showed up, we made him talk about all the things, and then we broke him.
Choked him.
But like the Litany of the Electromancer, that one's brutal. So if you're locked, like,
There's so many good song names in this codex.
so if you're locked in combat for, like, let's say you've got 3 units in combat, like, you roll a d6 for each enemy unit that is within 1 inch of any affected unit. So any Skitarii Mechanicus unit, and on a roll of a 6, the unit suffers d3 mortal wounds.
Yeah. Now, it only happens on a 6, and the Canticle takes effect at the start of the battle round. So turn 1, if you decide I'm not going to pick one, I'm just going to roll for it, and you get Litany of the Electromancer, congratulations, none of your guys are in combat, so it
Yeah.
does nothing.
Unless you have call.
So you really have to wait that
don't roll doubles.
whole battle round and make sure you get something in combat, yeah.
Yeah. And same with the one that gives you +1 strength, or +1, or rerolling your 1s to hit in the fight subphase. A lot of those are very situationally useful. Now, call, the Mars Dogma allows you to roll twice on this table and apply both. If you roll the same number twice,
Oh, and apply both.
apply both. Yeah. Now, if you roll the same number, you only get one of them. You just get it
You don't double it.
especially good.
Yeah.
But Call's special ability allows you to either add or subtract 1 from your roll on the Canticles table.
That's
So with
sneaky.
rolling twice, there's a pretty good chance that you can score that +1 to your armor save for being in cover most turns.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but first turn, for example, you could choose to pop Chant of the Remorseless Fist, which is reroll ones to hit.
Yes.
So that's the fight.
That's the fight phase, yeah.
Whatever the one...
You could choose to do it.
Yeah, I don't know why I
I
would.
would recommend
The
it.
Benediction of the All Messiah. So you've done that. You've now chosen that one. So you can never choose it again.
Right.
But if you decide from turn 2 onwards to randomly roll,
Yep.
you can get that
You
one
could get
again.
it again, yes.
Okay.
And if you're using call, you could roll for it and then add or subtract to that roll to end up on it.
So you need a 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, interesting. Good to know. So that's probably what everyone's doing is first turn going for Benediction of the All Messiah and then rolling from then on out.
Which one's Benediction? That's
6.
the +1 to hit for shooting?
It's reroll.
Reroll to ones.
Or reroll ones for shooting. Yeah, so I think it's either that or the Shroud Song.
Because if you have call, you're already rerolling all your hits for shooting.
Yeah.
But only for units within 9 inches of them.
That's
a pretty big
that's
bubble.
a 20-inch
Yeah.
bubble.
And there's a lot of units in the Mechanicum Codex that want to be within a few inches of a character because of the repair ability. So every HQ choice in the Mechanicum army is essentially a Tech Marine in the sense that they can repair the vehicles in the army. Now, I believe the Cybernetica Data Smith, who is an elite choice character who accompanies the Castellan robots, can only repair the robots, but everyone else can pretty much repair Adeptus Mechanicus vehicles and models willy-nilly.
That's also one of my favorite models in that range.
Yeah.
The Data Smith?
Yeah, his like eyes look nuts.
He's a bit odd because he's like a 4-wound Terminator.
He's got so many guns.
They all do.
Yeah,
They're
they all have all guns.
He's got
Like,
a gamma pistol.
phrase that the GW copywriters love is bristling with guns.
Yeah.
You will see that over and over and over.
They don't get to shoot them all anymore, though. Like the Tech Priest used to come with the Macro Stubber, which was a 5-shot pistol, as well as his Volkite Blaster, which was a nod to the Heresy era Volkite weapons, and he could shoot them both. So he was dumping out 8 shots a turn. But now with the you can shoot all your pistols or all your non-pistol weapons, he kind of has to pick between the two. But that's a big theme in the Mechanicus army. Now that I think of it, is 5-shot and 3-shot pistols. Everybody has pistols that are shooting
It's cool.
loads of shots, and if I would ever remember to use a pistol in close combat, that might actually be relevant.
I'm actually going to get a nice forearm tattoo that says "Shoot your pistols."
Shoot your pistols in close combat. Yeah.
Just- You know what? I think "Shoot your pistol" would be a cool tattoo.
Yeah.
You're such a long-term thinker.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
9th edition? This is useless.
Yeah.
Well, time to get rid of the arm.
Pistols are just
Time to
so
buy a
fun.
gun.
Yeah.
Oh, why do you have a gun? Because of this tattoo?
Felt obligated.
Yeah. Didn't want to look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Are they? What other units do we want?
Let's all pick a favorite unit and just highlight it.
Okay, my favorite unit, it's
He's
super
going to
cool.
go with the Dune Crawler. I don't even have to look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dune Crawler? I
Yeah.
love the Dune Crawler. The Dune Crawler, when it came out, was such a unique unit. It's kind of like their Dreadnought. Kind of like the Mechanicus Dreadnought. No, it's Skitarii Dreadnought. But, no, I've always liked it. It's got some fantastic weapons, whether it's the Neutron Laser, which is just ridiculously good. It's basically a strength 10, AP -4, D3 shot las cannon. So D6 damage. And anytime you can't get less than 3 damage on the roll. So it's D6 damage, never less than 3.
3 to 6.
That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's really good. It does fantastic in 7th edition, and now it does really great against anybody who can fly. So you're hitting everything that can fly on 3s instead of 4s. You're subtracting 1 from the hit rolls against all their targets, but you've got like a missile launcher, a Gatling rocket launcher, and a twin-linked autocannon.
That's if you take the Icarus array
The
rather
Icarus
than the
array.
neutron laser.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you've got things like the Eradication Beamer, which is kind of cool. No, they're just fun. They look cool.
You guys, I assume, have read all the Gaunt's Ghosts novels, or a lot of the Gaunt's Ghosts.
Yep.
They always refer to the Chaos troops as using stock tanks,
Yes.
which were like big multi-legged transports and gun tanks.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Eradication Beamer is a D6 shot rocket. Crack rocket.
Yeah, it's quite good. Well, it's only D3 damage.
And I just love
that's true.
the design of this kit too, because to me it's obvious that they wanted to echo the Defiler kit with this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they did that instead of like taking the Ghost in the Shell walking tank.
Although I do love spider tanks from Ghost in the Shell.
Don't get me wrong, I love me a Tashkoma. But
Hi, Paul.
The downside is that the
No one's gonna get that.
the two weapon options that you actually want to take, and that I think every Dune crawler ever has been equipped with, are either the Icarus Array or the neutron laser.
I didn't know
And-
that there was other things.
Yeah, exactly. There's two other weapon options that are really easy to magnetize and swap out for the neutron laser, but you'll never take any of those. It's the Icarus Array is the one outlier that you can't really magnetize well, and unfortunately, that's the only other option that you would want to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool unit. It's got some cool rules. The broad spectrum data tether. That's a cool little thing.
That comes up in one of the new stratagems. So previously,
Well, we'll get to the stratagem.
oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. We're gonna.
What's
So
your
what's your
favorite unit, Paul?
unit type?
You know what? I think I might be just going with the straight up Rangers, man. Just give me a second to. Doop, doop, doop. Rangers. Yeah, I just love the look of the Rangers. I love the idea of these ranging dudes out in like Mars waste with like
With no legs.
no legs, muskets, and like, you know, just cool masks. I almost started a Mechanicum force when they released them, and realized that was like a really bad idea because I would have just had one more army. So like I bought one box, assembled it, and then sold it to Mike Chapman.
Yeah.
And it was just like I can't be doing it. It was a really cool box, but
They are a giant pain in the butt to paint lots of. They
Yeah.
have a lot of little details.
they certainly do. But yeah, I just like the Skitarii Rangers. I mean, there's nothing particularly crazy about their stats. They're toughness 3, strength 3. So
They ignore cover.
If you give them an Omni Specs.
yeah. But yeah, like they're exceedingly mortal troops. But you can give them like the galvanic rifle is 30-inch range, rapid fire, and on a 6, it's resolved at -1 AP. Like that's a good basic troop.
It's a good basic troop, man.
I mean, like
That's the template for his Space Marine gun that he invented right
yeah,
there.
yeah. Well, it's also essentially a ghost blaster.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, are they -1?
They're -1 all the time, but they only have a 24-inch range, not a 30-inch range.
These guys are probably the biggest point drop, too, because they were 11 points apiece in 7th.
They're
you
8 points.
never saw them, and now they're down to 8. So they're actually viable now.
Yeah, it's just like it's such a like solid troop choice, and I think like the Rangers and the Vanguard built out of the same kit. Like you just can't really go wrong. Yeah. So I mean, nothing flashy. I guess that's to be expected. But yeah, and you know what? I know that you want to talk about robots, don't you?
So they are fun, and I'm about to paint a whole bunch of them for a customer.
Hope you like them.
But like, I just love the Electro priests are the worst models ever, and they're like so bad in the game before, but they sound amazing now.
I honestly, yeah, they're just like Hellraiser models. Like, they do not fit in this range at all.
No. I only started 40k in 4th, so I'm not like a super OG Games Workshop expert, but I gather Electro Priests have been in the fluff for ages, and they've just never had models up until now.
Yeah, there's always been like a knob-fingered like electro dude somewhere.
Yeah, this is never how I would have pictured them. In my wildest fever dreams.
Interesting.
So, like, I just want to talk about these two units. 'Cause
Yeah.
I just find them fascinating. So there's two kinds, right? There's the Fulgurite Electro Priest, who's a basic guardsman that hits on a 3 and has 2 attacks, and a worse armor save. Like, he's horrible. But his stave is amazing. It's +2 strength, so he's strength 5 in combat, -2 AP, and it does D3 wounds. And every time on a wound roll of 6, you do D3 mortal wounds instead of normal damage.
Yeah, so you take a big blob of them and just hack apart tanks.
Yeah.
Like
Max squad of 20.
that's
it.
stupid.
So
Especially for a unit that comes in boxes of 5. Like, get out
Oh,
of
see,
here.
that's the other reason I don't have them, because everything in this codex is insanely expensive dollar-wise.
They're
Like,
also
Right.
17 points.
yeah, 17 points, but like 5 of those guys is $50.
Yeah, get out of here.
It's a 200 point unit, $200 unit of 20.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. How much do you hate yourself to take the worst looking models ever to do something fun?
Spend $200 on them.
You know what? I can make a unit of those look good. I promise you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna. Get me a
Should I
box.
have one on my painting table?
So, but
What
like,
do these guys look like?
so you have to combine
Hellraiser.
these. You have to combine these guys with the stratagems because you can basically do a Raven Guard strike from the shadows with them if you put them in the right Forge World. So they're starting 9 inches away from the enemy. If you pull off this first turn charge and get this special rule they have called Siphoned Vigor, that if they wipe out an enemy unit in the fight phase, their invulnerable save, which is normally 5+, goes to 3+ for the rest of the game. Oh, Nick's seeing them for the first time.
Oh, their eyes are stapled shut.
Oh yeah, all their eyes explode because they've got electricity coursing through them constantly, so all of their eyes burn out and pop.
That is actually what happens when you're electrocuted.
Really?
Yeah, it's awful.
Oh yeah,
It's happened to me
So all
several times.
all the models have either bandages over their eyes or their little staples.
Well, where we're going, we don't need eyes.
Exactly, Sam Neill.
Yeah, they're totally from that movie. Anyways, and they have 5+ feel no pain, which is great. And okay, so then the shooting version. These ones, they're like guardsmen, but hit on a 3 for shooting instead of fighting, and they have 2 attacks. And their gauntlets can be used in both shooting and melee. So they're 3 shots at 12-inch range, and on 6s to hit, they blow up into 3 hits rather than just the 1.
That's
Exquisite.
stop with the egg.
Like Tesla troops.
Yeah, I like them. I like the flavor. Just I also played Necron, so this is all very familiar.
Fluff-wise, the Electro Priests are 2 sides of the same coin in the sense that the Corpuscari giveth and the Fulgurite taketh away. So I guess the Corpuscari are giving their enemies loads of electricity to the face, and the Fulgurite Electro Priests are siphoning the force out of them and empowering themselves with it.
So they're
it's,
just they're terminals.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that a lot.
Delectably.
I'd like to see
evil.
more on the table now because you never saw them in 7th.
Oh,
they were
it's
just
nuts to
No.
see them.
So my only quip with this is like, you want to be able to reroll wounds somehow, and there's no characters that give buffs for rerolling anything for combat.
no.
So to get that, you would have to make them a Rizza Forge World or whatever it is. I think
From
it's called.
like from Wu-Tang?
That's right.
No, it's Risa. It's where Riker went to get, or Picard went to get the
Yeah, to relax and hang out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
relax and hang out. You get the
When-
Horgon.
When he goes to Pole. It's the Pleasure Planet, baby.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So you want to
I was hoping I was going to be able to drop a bunch of Liquid Swords references, but you know, here we are.
Here we are in Risa.
Yeah,
but
we have left.
derailed.
We have left Adam so far behind.
You've seen all the TNG episodes.
yeah, I know Ryzen.
Yeah, but he doesn't know Wu Tang.
No,
I also do not.
that's
know.
Rizza.
Okay.
Anyways, so without a transport, you unfortunately can't take that Forge World because you have to be able to use that infiltrate stratagem to get them up the table.
Yeah, it's a big ask to get your toughness 3 5-up save, even with Feel No Pain or New Feel No Pain, whatever it's called, Fanatical Devotion. Foot slogging them across the table.
Yeah, it's a hard sell.
Yeah.
I just would love to infiltrate 2 units of 20 of these and just make a giant ring around your enemy's army. And then just try and charge
Be like,
first turn.
charge them.
You're a
Yeah.
bad. You're bad. You're bad.
I gotta say, these were my favorite in 7th, and I don't use them quite as much because they're not quite the steel that they used to be, but the Sidonian Dragoons. So these might actually take the prize for worst points to dollar value ratio in a GW kit.
Also, technically not Dragoons.
Not Dragoons?
No.
What's a dragoon?
Dragoons are mounted infantry, so they dismount from their horses and fight on foot.
Oh, interesting.
They
So
just-
these guys stay mounted.
Yeah.
So the Dragoons
So they're
are
cavalry.
more often referred to as the chicken walkers, because they're a very tall model with long spindly legs and a weird servitor gimp unit hardwired into the front of it.
And
Yeah.
they smoke a lot of dope.
Yeah. And they have an incense cloud. So
Oh. So this is basically like a sleep album? Like...
yeah, it's like somewhere like Dark Crystal-y / that old Commodore game Joust, where you were on the ostrich and you would try to knock the other guy off the ostrich. So they have a taser lance, which is a really long cattle prod, and basically charge directly at the enemy. And in 7th, they were 45 points, and while they were not amazing, they did a bunch of strength 8 attacks in close combat, which meant you would just kind of fire them at an enemy vehicle and punk a rhino by hitting it on the rear armor with a bunch of strength 8.
Wow, that's weird.
Now they're 65, 67-ish points. And I think they're probably going to see a little more use because they're a little more survivable. They've got a -1 modifier when you're shooting at them.
Because of the
Because they're in cloud of incense that they're constantly in. And I think notably
the album cover I'm talking about.
Yep.
Like,
Yep, that sounds about right.
yeah, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, the Sleep album Dope Smoker is basically just a bunch of
People on
mechanic
Mars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Mars. It's cool.
So the hot tech, so to speak, with the Dragoons in the 8th edition codex is one of the stratagems that references the old doctrine. So it's the Conqueror Doctrina protocol. And basically this says whenever a Scutari unit from your army fights, add 1 to hit rolls you make for the unit in the fight phase. If it has a broad spectrum data tether, you can add 2 instead.
Oh, no.
So the benefit with that is that the Dragoon comes with a broad spectrum data tether, and their Taser Lance does additional wound, or does 2 additional hits on a 2-hit roll of 6. So if you're
3
adding
additional hits.
3 total.
3 total. 3
Yeah.
hits rather than 1.
So-
That's worded so weirdly.
So now your Dragoons are hitting on a 2-up, and each 4+ is doing 3 hits with a strength 8 AP -1 2 damage close combat weapon.
Oh, that's
You could take them in squads of up to 6. So 6 of these guys, 1 single command point stratagem to buff them all up to exploding their Tesla hits on a 4.
you're gonna wreck.
You can dump a whole bunch of kind of low AP strength 8 shots. Or low, high AP, what is it referred to as now? It used to be
It's low.
low. Because low used to be good. Now low is not as good.
Well, no,
-1.
-4 is lower than -2.
Oh, God.
Okay, so it's high
Tec-
AP then. Because it's only -1.
Technically, I guess, if we're going into integers.
Well, I mean, no, not technically. Like, strictly speaking, that is
Yeah.
true, what I just said.
They're great models.
Yeah.
It was just really painful in 7th to pay almost $70 for a 45-point model.
Oh.
It was,
Yeah, no
especially when they could be taken in squads of 6. And it was like, are you nuts? Like,
That's crazy. Who does that?
apparently, a lot of people on the internet now.
Yeah.
Want to win tournaments.
This is not a pay-to-win game, folks.
It is now.
It is.
If you have the money to
It
shell out
always has
for
been.
2 squads of 6 Sidonian Dragoons, yes, it is.
It's pay for what you want. And if you want to do that,
If you want to
go
win.
ahead.
You can pay to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to just talk about a couple of stratagems really quick? And then
Sure.
maybe dump into fun time?
Let's get on the stratagems. So, I'll start us off.
Are you going to take the one that I want to do?
Is it the Metallica?
Yeah, it's the Metallica one.
Do you have another one?
No, I can.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I got mine.
Okay. So, there is a Metallica Forge World.
With 1 L. Totally not copyrighted.
Totally not
Yeah.
copyrighted. And their stratagem is Deafening Assault. 1 command point. And pick one of your Metallica units. All enemy units within 6 inches of that unit, subtract 1 from their leadership characteristic until the end of the phase. I'd never use that.
No, it's not that great.
So
But
that's hilarious.
it's funny to have a Metallica reference.
Night Lords Mechanicum.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I didn't notice this one that you're going to do.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do Rage of the Machines. It's like this thing is just like metal as heck. So this one, yeah, it's okay. It's the correct battle hymn broadcasted at the perfect frequency to boost the ire of any machine spirit. So you can use this stratagem before a Adeptus Mechanicus vehicle in your army attacks in the shooting phase. And until the end of that phase, you can ignore all penalties for moving and firing heavy weapons, for advancing, firing assault weapons, and for advancing and firing a Cognos weapon. For the purpose of the stratagem, a Cognos weapon is any weapon profile whose name includes the word Cognos. So,
HGW.
Yeah. I mean, I like that they were just like, it's...
Yeah.
We're just
You know what a Cognos weapon is.
But it's really good. Like, it's when you need your vehicle in the space. You need to get them in range, or you need them right where you need them. You can't miss. This is well worth 1 command point.
Yeah.
Especially because you can then like re-roll if you really need to do it. I think it's a handy one. It's 1 command point. It's obviously situational, but that situation you're gonna feel so smart getting this thing off.
So I think you guys took all the obvious metal references.
All the banned ones.
Yeah.
In the
Anyway.
in the catechin kit, the plastic kit, there's totally a face that looks like the bassist from Metallica, the old bassist, the middle bassist, not the one that died.
I was going to say, didn't he die? Is it a corpse face?
Womp womp.
Too soon? What was that, the 80s?
Would have been like 87.
That's 30 years ago.
Oh, I'm old.
Now he's really sad.
All right, so here's mine. I'm going to pick this one. 1 command point. It's called Machine Spirit's Revenge. Your vehicle automatically explodes.
Yeah!
I love those.
I've had games where I've spent 3 command points over the course of the game trying to get vehicles to explode. Now I can do it automatically.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So just like, and those chicken walkers, they explode.
They want to be in your face.
And they're cheap.
Yep.
So throw them in, and, you know, if the enemy kills you in combat, which you're going to lay a hurt on them first, because you're moving 10, so you're getting the charge, like, just explode some things.
Unfortunately, you can't use it on knights. Knights are in the book, but they don't apply to a lot of these stratagems, which is too bad.
Because they don't have the same keywords.
They don't have the same keyword.
Yeah.
There is a stratagem that I may as well pick and explain now, but there's Knight of the Cog, which uses stratagem at the start of any battle round. Select, before you determine which canticle you get, select a quest or Mechanicus unit from your army that's within 12 inches of a Mechanicus character, and that gains the canticles of the Omnissiah. So you can, if you take a knight in your detachment, have the canticles of the Omnissiah apply to it until the end of the turn. The problem is that you don't know what canticles you are getting before you choose to spend the command point to do so.
Or you just pick it.
Or you pick it, yeah.
Yeah.
If it's one you haven't already
That's
chosen.
where you're like,
Yeah.
I use this stratagem, and now we're re-rolling ones to hit.
But given your knight on turn 1, Shroud Psalm, and counting it as though it's in cover,
Pretty
that's
hilarious.
a pretty robust unit.
Or if you have, what's his name?
Call.
Call
He's getting
power.
both.
Yeah, he's getting both. Give him +1 strength to add 1 to his Reaper Chainsword. Make
'Cause
it
it
strength
needs-
17 or whatever it is.
Because he needs it.
Yep.
Yeah, so after stratagems, we got warlord traits. I'm just going to pick one that I just noticed that I think is absolutely fantastic. It's just a coincidence that it's also Metallica. No, but seriously, so if a friendly Metallica unit is within 6 inches of your warlord and falls back, it can still shoot, but subtracts 1 from the hit rolls.
That's really good.
That's really good.
That's pretty handy.
Yeah, man.
I'm just going to go ahead and tell you about the RZA, and that's first-hand field testing. So true innovation is rare among tech priests, but that's not so on Ryza. I really like calling it RZA, though. When setting up your warlord, choose one of their weapons. It can't be one of their relics, and increase the strength and damage characteristics of that by 1. I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
It's just like hardcore.
And your tech priests are not... I mean, now you can't give it to Call because he's kind of stuck in Mars, the dogma, but the Mechanicus HQ units are some of the shootier ones in 40k. They're generally not close combat based.
Yeah, which makes sense. Like, you can't get them into close combat, so just make his 5-shot pistol strength 6.
Why not?
2 damage.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Terminators come at you, just murk them up real good.
You don't have to.
No, that's good.
You can talk
Yeah,
about a
that's
relic if you want.
That's good. Array.
Yeah. Take us through a relic, Adam.
Sure. Well, because I haven't looked at them.
This is just my favorite one.
Yeah.
The skull of Eldar Nikolai.
Nicola.
Nicola?
Literally Nikola
Nikola
Tesla's
Tesla.
head.
Nikola Tesla's skull. I
Okay.
don't know where they got it from.
Sure. Let's do that one. Once
Bought
per
off
game.
eBay. It's legit.
Yeah. Once per game in your shooting phase, the bear can unleash the power bound within the skull. Should the bear do so, roll a dice for each enemy vehicle unit within 2d6. 2+, they take a mortal wound. Alright, pretty cool. How about the Metallica one? Melee
Is that
weapon.
the axe?
Melee weapon that's times 3 strength, AP -3, and 3 damage.
Sick. That is awesome. What's it called?
The adamantine arm.
So cool.
Just the Terminator arm.
I really wish that all the Metallica ones were
Oh,
just...
but it's only one attack each time you fight.
Nah.
Oh, it's a servo arm. It replaces your
Got
your
it.
little pinchy arm on the back.
Still cool.
Yeah. I love some of the names of these things, like the Autocaduceus of Arkan Land. Arkan Land.
Seems
The
legit.
most- yeah.
The guy
The
who-
guy.
The
who-
guy who
Oh!
Land Raiders and
Yeah.
Land Speeders are named after.
Yeah, because they totally don't raid the land or speed over the land. They are named after a person named land.
It's probably so, like, LucasArts didn't sue them over Land Speeders.
You think so?
I don't know.
I don't know. But the Autocaduceus of Arkan Land, the rod's runic tip can impart blessed energy to anything metallic that the wielder strikes with sufficient vigor. Those cyborgs and engines so struck will stitch themselves back together as if repaired by the hands of the techno-archaeologist himself.
So kick it.
Yeah.
Hit it.
So basically, yeah, your pinball machine is not working. You need to kick it and slap the side of it until it starts working. So at the start of each of your turns, you regain 1 wound. The bearer regains 1 wound. In addition, when he repairs a friendly vehicle, you can re-roll the dice to see how many wounds are restored. In most of the cases, you're repairing D3, so
D3 plus 1.
maybe you get an extra 1 or 2 wounds out of that
Yeah.
repair roll.
Cool.
GW also did a pretty good job in this codex of making sure that people didn't abuse the repair mechanic by specifically calling out if you're repairing a Quest or Mechanicus model, you only repair a single wound rather than D3, so that you don't have Invincible Knights getting repaired for 3 wounds.
You don't want Invincible Knights. Like, not being able to really damage Knights. You, like,
Yeah,
just stop.
Or like take them out in one shot with a single gun on turn 1. It almost never happens.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, that is the exception to the
Hey,
rule.
Nick resembles that remark.
That's the first time that knight's seen the table in a year.
You didn't even get to touch
You
it.
didn't
You're
even
like,
get to shoot.
it's deployed. Volcano cannon. Okay, it's gone.
And I'm taking it off. It and the 12 extra wounds that you did to it above and beyond what was needed.
Oh.
Yeah, that thing. Oh my god. I'm gonna get a pin. I'm gonna bring it to an actual competitive tournament. We'll see how it does. Probably not well. Although if I bubble wrap it with cultists, it'll probably just do perfectly fine.
Conscripts. That Imperial Guard Codex is coming out. Conscripts will now have Strength 4 if you're making catechins. I don't know.
Well, speaking of conscripts. Fun time! So, GW, blessed in their all-knowingness, released a regimental standard going through the changes to the conscript unit today. Because they are probably one of the most contentious and complained about units in the meta right now. And kind of rightly so.
Yeah, they're so good. For
Who's painting all these conscripts?
Nobody.
Every army
Nobody.
has
They're all-
400 of them.
I think that's just eBay, and they're just I need 50 catechins. And
None of them match.
No
Yeah.
one's asking me to paint conscripts.
No?
Because I charge $20 an infantry model.
That would do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the biggest change that you're seeing is in their discipline and to...
Yeah, but first of all, we have to say that within the heart of every guardsman is a lion, and the same is true of conscripts. It just requires a little bit more coaxing.
Well, I believe if we're going to read it the way that GW wanted us...
It's just that line that the dentist shot in the case of conscripts.
Within the heart of every guardsman is a lion, and
Okay,
the same
Bane.
is true of conscripts.
You merely adopted the guard. I was born in it.
Well, I was going for more of a jowly, mustachioed man. But in their discipline, unfortunately, bravery does not necessarily beget a great deal of tactical genius, and the conscripts are rarely recruited for their natural aptitude. Usually they're recruited just for the sheer number of bodies. So the only orders they have access to are advance and fire at will. So no longer are you going to have these 50 conscripts just lighting up a Land Raider.
Is that the one where they can fall back out of combat and then shoot?
I think that's get back in the fight.
Oh, okay, because that was, I think, the really annoying one.
That was the really annoying one when you charge a bunch of conscripts and they're like, no, we fall back and we shoot.
Take one step back from combat and light you up with first rank fire.
But I specifically like this sentence. Commissars are specifically trained to provide battlefield encouragement and should be able to make an imperial hero out of even the most lily-livered of troops.
Connor?
Ooh, lily-livered.
Lily-livered Connor Colley. Speaking about the unit of 50 conscripts, you're not going to see that anymore. They come in units of 20 to 30 now. And I love the fluff reason. It's because a blob of 50 guardsmen is 20 guardsmen deeper than a commissar's effective killing range.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So troopers in the middle of a bigger squad tend to become idle, believing falsely that having several comrades between them and their enemy / commissar is a guarantee of safety.
So I am very, very pleased to see GW addressing the conscript issue. I'm also very pleased to see them do it in such a fun way. If you haven't seen the Regimental Standard, go look it up. If you Google Regimental Standard, you'll find it.
Yep.
I don't have to explain how Google works to you people.
I love the equation here. It's a picture of a Lehman Russ tank, and then it says equals 70 conscripts.
In weight, battlefield effectiveness.
The construction and maintenance of a Lehman Russ battle tank is a laborious process involving the combined efforts of the Adeptus Mechanicus and Departmentum Unitorum. The recruiting of a conscript, however, involves putting a las gun in the hands of a citizen and pointing them in the direction of the enemy. Be mindful of how your superiors will see the loss of a Lehman Russ. The loss of a conscript. No, the loss of a Lehman Russ to preserve the conscript. Remember that rank is no shield from the gaze of the Emperor.
Aww.
So, yeah. They're killing it.
And orders will only take effect on a 4-up.
Oh, yeah.
We know that
That's
as
a big
well.
one.
So that's a big one for conscripts, too.
And there's still a huge blob of 30 guys.
Yeah.
You still need a bullet for each of them.
Mm-hmm.
Or a pulse blast or a radium-soaked Mechanicus weapon of some sort.
Yeah, there's not a lot of retired guardsmen, are there?
No.
Yeah, so that's pretty rad, guys.
Did you notice the stars?
Oh no, take me through the asterisks.
There's 50 asterisks on these things.
Yeah. So the one that says conscripts are rarely recruited for the natural aptitude, and it's got the double asterisk there. And then at the bottom it says, for more information on recruitment criteria, please consult uplifting pamphlet 3017/D. Braveheart, this is the name of that pamphlet. Braveheart, White Shield, a 4-item checklist for probitors.
4-item checklist. It's probably one check for each limb.
Yeah.
Never shake hands with an electro priest, and other advice for fighting with the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Good advice, as we just established.
The don'ts and don'ts of dealing with mutants. So I think that's it for episode 21. Anyone have any final thoughts?
I'm so excited to paint robots. This is an army that I've been looking at for a while, considering doing, and always kind of held back on because Mike, that's Mike's little baby, and then you came along as that's definitely your baby too, and I was like,
The robots will be a lot more fun than 30 or 40 Skitarii Rangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For you, not for your opponent.
I'd love to see a really rusted up, beat up set of these guys.
Mechanicus would never stand for that.
Sure, they might.
Dark Mechanicus.
There are, and just to be clear, there are some Dark Mechanicus characters in the Imperial Armor books.
Yeah, there's a couple in Heresy too. That Archmagos Dracovic, the one on the Abeyant, is a Dark Mechanicus.
Oh, he is?
Yep.
Okay. And
Yeah,
Scoria. Scoria, who can kill any Primarch,
Oh.
is also Dark Mechanicus.
so good.
Screw that guy.
I watched a couple battle reports. It's just what? What? What?
Every hit he does 3 wounds. And you're like, wait, does 3 hits? No. Every hit he does 3 automatic wounds. And you're like, oh, cool. That's fun.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah, Mechanicus, cool. Mechanicum, also really cool.
Also cool.
I love them in Horus Heresy. They're one of the most unique armies.
I think that's it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm exhausted.
Say goodnight, Matt.
Good night, Matt.
Like a monkey in a rocket on his way back home.